And now we're going to start our first panel on the twin and green and digital transition. The question of our panel is how the new European program and policy fit, for the purpose, especially in this new environment of economic recovery. We have an RDI budget which is now fixed at European level. We don't know what will come out of the national recovery plans. So we will have to look at implementation and hear where those programs fit and what they will deliver, I think will be quite key. So before I introduce the panel, let's see and hear from our members what they think on the topic. So let's launch the small video.
Accelerating the energetic and ecological transitions, the so-called green transition, is key to achieve carbon neutrality in Europe. In this context, the digital transition is a booster. To succeed, two key words: technology and collaboration. Encouraging public and private funding for the development, maturation and scale-up of key enabling technologies will be a decisive factor. The key role of technology needs to be further recognized in the EU industrial strategy. And we hope, with concrete targets, to achieve our green and digital ambitions through innovation. We need also cross-border collaborations in research and innovation, especially through grant-based programs like Horizon Europe. Funding for research and innovation collaboration needs to address the whole TRL scale, from laboratory to demonstration. We need not only innovative solutions to reach a market in the short term, but also strategic technology development to build our competencies in the long run.
We RTOs are positioned at the heart of research and innovation ecosystems to translate research into innovation. Therefore, we collaborate with a wide range of actors in the public and private domain. We do that in order to speed up innovation and lower the risk and cost for industry. Our capability as a technology powerhouse enables us to solve challenges in different sectors. In solving challenges for industry and society, we take action for sustainable development goals. Our foresight capabilities enable us to identify key technologies for green and digital transition. Horizon Europe and Digital Europe are ideal platforms to boost industrial R&I investment in the long term. We RTOs play a central role in the collaborative part of these programs, and we foster industry participation.
EU public-private partnerships are key instruments for ambitious industry-driven collaboration in Europe. We, RTOs, welcome the continuity of public-private partnerships in Horizon Europe. Trust between partners takes time to create and is indispensable for those partnerships to contribute to a greener, more digital and more resilient European industry. Regarding Horizon Europe's missions, they should be set up as an ambitious shared agenda, pooling expertise across sectors. And we need to break down silos and ensure policy coherence at EU, national and regional levels. We RTOs should be in the driving seat for the sound implementation of those partnerships and missions. RTOs will ensure their connection to the relevant national and regional initiatives.
We need effective complementarity between all EU-funded programs and instruments for the implementation, deployment, and optimal use of technologies and innovations. We must create synergies and strengthen the mixed funding schemes between the European, national, and regional strategies. We also need to prioritize technology and innovation in recovery investments under the Recovery and Resilience Facility. We, RTOs, research and technology organizations, and our technology infrastructures are ready to play a central role to deliver on the green and digital ambitions of Europe.
So great. I think if I have to summarize what I take from that video in 2 words, I would say collaboration and technology. So great to have our 3 panelists with us. So I'm very glad to introduce our guests. We have Manuel Heitor, Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education of Portugal. Hello, Manuel. Thanks to be with us today. We have Roberto Viola, Director General of the DG Connect at the European Commission. Good morning, Roberto.
Good morning.
And we have Alexandra Bech, the CEO of SINTEF, the largest RTO in Norway. Good morning, Alexandra.
Hello, Muriel. Nice to see you.
So I would like to ask your take on the videos you just seen and on the key issues you think are for the green and digital transition. I will let Manuel start.
Thank you very much, Muriel. I believe the message above all is to reaffirm the Commission communication of September 2020 about the target of the 3% R&D investment in terms of the European GDP by 2030. And this is not just another vision. That is the only way to really achieve the twin digital and green transition, because we need more knowledge. We don't have enough knowledge from the hydrogen to carbon neutrality, but also to fire propagation or biodiversity management. We need more knowledge. Second, we need institutional innovation across our territories, but also across our disciplines. And again, RTOs are well located, and to densify RTOs across different disciplines. Last but not least, we need new observation methods, which can only be fully achieved by the integration of advanced computing with high-resolution satellite image, but particularly low-orbit satellite image. And this complex array of new knowledge, institutional innovation, and new observation methods are particularly important to be able, Europe at large, to use the opportunities of digital transition and to achieve carbon neutrality in the coming decades.
Thank you very much, Manuel, for this first insight. Roberto, maybe you want to react?
Thank you very much. What I would like to say is that, first of all, a big thank you to EARTO for the invitation, and a big thank you to EARTO and all the RTOs for the support they have given to the design of the new MFF, in particular to the onboarding of the new program, Digital Europe, which will complement Horizon Europe and hopefully achieve critical mass together with the recovery plan to really realize our dream in Europe. And our dream in Europe, when it comes to digital, now has been spelled out this week with the presentation of the Digital Decade communication, where the Commission is proposing 4 key cardinal points to navigate through the decade, which is investment in skills, especially in advanced skills, investment in infrastructure, so connectivity and also technology infrastructure, scaling up in especially looking at SMEs, and the 4th element is improving and transforming digitally the public administration and the healthcare system. So in a way that the healthcare system and the public administration comes to the citizen, not the other way around. This is an ambitious program with precise targets, very challenging targets, and now we would like to consult member states, we would like to consult citizens to arrive to an agreed policy program that really would then set the ambition for the next 10 years. That's what we have presented this week. And this pairs with what I heard, what the minister said, and I heard also from the video that really we need to join forces, we need to scale up, and we need precise targets. So I hope now in digital we have a very clear path ahead of us, but now the challenge is, of course, to walk this path and to realize the objectives.
Thank you very much, Roberto. I think maybe Alexandra wants to answer to this walk this path questions from the RTO side and on our RTO point of view, Alexandra.
Well, I can just assure the previous speakers and the panel that the RTOs are really hard at work at grasping the opportunities and resolving the challenges. From my point of view, being Norwegian and on that side a little bit adjacent to the EU, I can assure you that we're extremely involved in the dialogue around mobilizing capital for large projects and a huge investment pipeline for the 2050 goals. Our access to renewable energy, of course, makes that critical, and we see that the focus on laboratories as a strategic asset becomes very important. Developing the lab structure of an RTO is a bottom-up, top-down dialogue where, of course, the scientists need to know what they know what they need, and we as top executives need to translate these big European goals into investment programs to make sure that we have the best both physical and digital infrastructure to meet the challenges. And I just, the heading for this panel was, are the new programs fit for purpose? And I would just like to reiterate what Antti said, that, the bold Green Deal objectives for 2050 and the structure of the programs kind of working from basic research up to practical implementation, I think is an excellent approach. I think the structure is good, and I think the RTOs can be like the oil in the machinery. I think our practical approach to research and innovation can play a predominant role in making those ambitions come to life.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. For the three of you, we have now a small question from our member from EURAC. So let's look at the question in the video.
EURAC Research is an Italian RTO and active member of EARTO. Our research addresses the greatest challenges facing us in the future, and we are trying to find answers in the interaction between many different disciplines and with a wide range of partners. EU programs like Horizon Europe and also Digital Europe are essential to solve these complex challenges. And here's my question to the speakers. What more do we need to do in these post-2020 European programs to speed up the development and scale up of key enabling technologies and further stimulate RD and I collaborations to deliver on the twin transition?
So you've heard the question on will the European program be fit for the digital and the green transition? And I'm sure here Roberto may wants to pick up with the Digital Europe program being launched very soon.
Thank you, Muriel. Indeed, I mean, the question of Stefan is very relevant to the design of the work program of the Digital Europe. I think if we are honest with ourselves, we have to admit that in Digital Europe has a high margin of improvement when looking at the rest of the world. Probably one of the reasons is that Europe has not invested enough in digital research in the past compared to US and China. But also it might be that we have to improve a little bit the way we organize research. And one thing that we think is very useful is to create critical mass, creating critical mass around key shaping topics, not technology, not only technologies. So I start with one example, which is not a technology, but is human beings. In Digital Europe, really, we would like to create the critical mass in high-end education. We want to make sure that when we look at master courses where digital is important, could be from medicine to architecture, not only engineering master courses, we can offer the best of the best in Europe. We have been working with all the European universities now to design this work plan, to make sure that we will can reach this goal, but we will not disperse the funding. Really, I mean, we want to make sure that universities and research center and academic center cooperate to really create top-notch courses that can be in the top 50 of the world. That's exactly what we have done in supercomputing. I mean, we have now, I mean, in this year, we will start delivering supercomputers, which will be networked in a grid, which will make Europe the most powerful supercomputing grid of the world. This is the scale of our intervention. So we are not looking to mini projects, we are not looking to individual contribution, we are looking to the big challenges and big groupings and big results. So that's what we will try to do in designing the work plan of Digital Europe.
Thank you very much, Roberto. I hear you on the challenges of having big projects. Maybe here, Manuel, you want to react? You have at hand the Portuguese presidency. It's a great challenge. So thanks for taking the time. Also for us, in the middle of always a presidency is always a lot of even heavier work, and you have a lot of challenges, discussion also in the Council around those investments, and maybe your view also on your own national plans and discussion on RDI investments to come up to those big projects mentioned by Roberto.
Thank you very much, Muriel. Let me focus on the issue Roberto very properly mentioned, advanced computing. Actually, since the Rome Declaration in 2017, we in Europe at large has been able to build one of the most advanced joint undertakings, the EuroHPC. And actually, apart and beyond increasing high-performance computing power in Europe at large, with 5+3+2 very large machines, we are also in the process of moving towards what we can call green computing. And actually, the use of low-consumption power machines, but also new forms of operating high-performance computing together with the use of renewable energies, such as that, for instance, using in Portugal, but also district heating in Finland, or the solutions adopted in Bulgaria, also show our advantage in moving not only in terms of computing power, but also of new forms of green computing. And at large, beyond computing power and greening of computing operation, we need also to increase more and more users. And this comes to my second point, which is central of the Portuguese presidency, is the priority to young researchers. And to have more researchers, because overall Europe needs more scientists. We need to favor research careers. That is reason why we have emphasizing during our last informal council meetings and in the preparation of the council conclusions in May, a strong priority on research careers throughout Europe. Research careers in research and technology organizations is the only way to attract young researchers and to give priority to new ideas, women and men throughout all the disciplines, but particularly to attract the young researchers to their career development. And for this to achieve, it is not just the legal and institutional issue. Certainly we need to revise the code of conduct, but we need, as Roberto mentioned, this ambition of large projects. And therefore, the Horizon Europe institutional partnerships, together with the Horizon Europe missions, the 5 missions, in close articulation with the national recovery plans, will be an important tools, or will be important procedures to achieve these goals. And this means the difficulty of building synergies among different centralized and decentralized European funding sources. We have already the example of the Seal of Excellence, which we need to deepen, to enlarge, but more and more to create synergies between the different European funding sources and national public and private funding sources.
Thank you, Manuel. We come back to the question on synergy. There is more, I think, coming to us on this. Maybe Alexandra, on the idea of big projects, especially big European projects, what could be the role of RTOs here to support?
Well, I fully support and get inspired by the ambitions of the other panel speakers. And education and top expertise and the computing power is critical. From our perspective, we see that the RTOs have a big role to play in making top education relevant. Because when we succeed the best, we see big challenge-driven research centers that are able to mobilize and enable collaboration with the universities, offering the PhDs within key enabling technologies, practical real-world examples to look at. The greatest opportunities we see in building competitiveness is where we're able to integrate cutting-edge research on these key enabling technologies with innovation and scale-up and research in the areas where we have strong industrial domain expertise. For example, in Europe or in Norway, energy and ocean industries are critical. And as an example, I'm really amazed at the uptake of technologies within digital twin, AI, big data in driving innovation and scale up in offshore wind, offshore aquaculture, but also in advanced medical technology. So again, I think we're able to form an integration and acceleration function in reaching the goals.
Thank you, Alexandra. Very interesting to look at also this integration activities of RTOs. For you guys, I have another question coming from EARTO member INL, who is our own international/European member, who's located in 2 countries and owned by 2 countries, Spain and Portugal. So let's hear it in video.
Dear delegates, dear colleagues, dear ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lars Montelius. I'm the Director General for INL, the International Nanotechnology Laboratory headquartered in Braga, Portugal. INL is an RTO and we are a member of EARTO. INL is indeed a very good example of a European collaboration in a critical technology on our grand challenges. INL was founded by the 2 member states, Spain and Portugal, and we are a key contributor to the European research area. And this is my question. In a practical view, how can we ensure complementarities between all European funded programs for the development and deployment of new technologies? And how can we build real synergies between the European, national and regional strategies, including the linkages to the recovery instruments?
So quite a challenging question with synergies. It's always a complicated topic because it can be taken at different levels. So maybe it would be interesting to hear from Roberto on your Digital European program that comes, and you have actually instruments called the Digital Innovation Hubs, which will probably help also with the discussion of synergy. So what's your take on that question of synergy?
Thank you, Muriel. It's a fundamental question and really links what we have discussed with the fellow panelists about the first question, which was about how the community can get together. And this is what about the public stakeholders, what they should do. I think that what we have learned through, let's call it the HPC model, that I mean, it's a model that combines the effort of regional funds, national funds, European funds, some little also private investment into this. It's a model that shows that when Europe moves with critical mass, can really do important things. And this combination now, it's even possible and welcome when looking at the Recovery Fund. Now, if I take 2 or now 3 with your example as well, I had in mind, I mean, to actually make the example of digital twins, which it's indeed, I mean, a very relevant and a beautiful project, because the project we have proposed, which is the digital twin of the Earth, and of course the Earth, including the oceans, which is Destination Earth. It's a beautiful example where we can have this kind of multi-level cooperation and have, I mean, many different expertise into a gigantic project which will really be the synthesis between, the digital and the green, if you like, looking at how to steer and control and anticipate the effect of policies, how to simulate things, how to make sure that we are going in the right direction when it comes to the green transformation, and also to anticipate disasters or, to control or predict better, things like pandemics. The other one is the digital twin of the body, where a breadth of different, specializations and expertise could come together. The other example I have is microelectronics. Microelectronics is at all levels, from manufacturing to packaging to advanced machinery, but also AI and programming and algorithms, where, everyone in Europe can contribute. And I'm very happy that we have all the members that have joined up our call. I'm very happy that, this idea of cooperating in this way will be at the center of the digital day. And thank you very much, Manuel, because, we actually have the possibility in the digital day with all the member states, and that's the program for next week, to speak about startups and do much more work, which go in the direction, for instance, of boosting the digital innovation hubs, to do work on the green and digital transformation with concrete projects, and also our international reach out. So for me, the only way to go, really the only way, is that those various levels, the national, the European, the regional one, are combined in an intelligent way.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Maybe, Manuel, you want to pick up, because in the Council you had a recent discussion looking at synergy also with the Resilience Research Facility, the RRF, and the plans. I think that goes much beyond the discussion, which is often stuck, I feel, to the Seal of Excellence. So it's going also to the future ERA technology roadmaps and the different link with the investment plans made at national levels. You want to react on this?
Sure, of course. And let me follow very much Roberto's narrative, because to really answer Lars Montelio's challenge, we need institutions, and actually INL is one of those institutions, which is a clear result of the synergies of European funds. INL combines national Portuguese and Spanish funds with European structural funds and European centralized funds throughout the years, also with public investment. And then we need large mobilization agendas. And actually, again, taking the example of INL, Lars and his team are preparing, together with the Portuguese and Spanish industry, and also leading European companies, also in Sweden and throughout Europe, a major mobilization agenda on the electrification of the mobility sector through a solid state new generation of batteries, particularly lithium batteries, high efficiency, low volume batteries. And this is an example that only a large mobilization project can really succeed in bringing together national and European funds, recovery funds, and centralized and decentralized funding. And actually, these ideas are clear. Let me also stress the importance of the digital twin of the planet Earth that Roberto mentioned. That is a clear example of the combination of the digital and green transition. Actually, again, between Portugal, Spain, France, Germany, the Atlantic International Research Center is building a constellation of small satellites, also in a way to build global awareness throughout Europe, and in close collaboration with Africa. And in the Portuguese presidency, we will organize the Europe-Africa Summit on Earth observation, particularly focused on the digital twin of the planet Earth, in a way that we can better use and add value from high-resolution image from low-orbit satellites for our daily life, from communications among citizens to urban mobility, to land register, to fire prevention, to biodiversity management. And these are a clear issue of the twin digital and green transition, which again can only be achieved with strong research and technology organizations throughout our landscape, but also the mobilization of different actors, public and private, towards a common challenge. And this idea of mission-oriented research is certainly the way to build synergies among different funding sources.
Thank you very much, Manuel. Much appreciated. I think I want to turn to Alexandra now, because it was interesting to hear the example of ENL, and it makes me come to a kind of a conclusion, is that in fact often the RTO are the engineers of that synergies because of their funding model and the way they operate. So what's your take managing one of those sometimes challenges animals which are RTOs?
Well, certainly I find the examples and these bold mission-driven projects that were just described are really engaging for our researchers. And at the same time, I see that the Horizon Europe program only accounts for less than 10% of total spending in the EU countries on R&D, and we need to mobilize and align the remaining 90%. And at least in Norway, we need to work hard to get up to that 3%. And while big projects, policies and plans are important for these alignment efforts, I think the market opportunities are even more important, both for the private sector investment ability, but also for the government's priorities. And then regulation is the strongest market builder. So the recent Commission proposals on batteries is a useful and very exemplary tool. And we see, this clear view of a rapidly escalating market has led to a boom in industrial initiatives around every aspect of the value chain for batteries in Norway, and a strong demand then for collaboration with RTOs and universities. So I predict that if you had similar guidance for other big areas like steel, cement, offshore energy, etc., could mobilize strongly in the same manner, because there is an abundance of capital ready to invest in new green technologies, but unless the tools are clear and predictable, capital will not necessarily flow in the right direction. So the IPCEIs are useful to spur public investments that engage the private sector industry. And we also see the Innovation Fund as another one. This has triggered a huge interest, and we just signed off on 51 applications. So we're very hopeful to be able to contribute.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. I want to take for you a question from Slido, and I would like to take the takes of the three of you on this one. The questions are asked are linking how can we make technology roadmaps across programs and policy, and also between national and EU level. So members are looking at, there will be the ERA technology roadmap, there will be roadmap in the European Horizon Europe partnerships, there will be the digital innovation hubs on one side, then you have the European Industrial Alliances. That makes a whole lot of different tools there, and somehow we will need to find a certain coherence. And maybe to find that coherence, you will also need to use the foresight capabilities of RTOs to tell you where certain of the investments in technology will be maybe more attractive than others, or maybe more useful. So what's your take on this? Especially, Roberto, you've done, the Alliance on Microelectronics, which is very successful. So it gives a kind of view. You had the first IPCEI also. So maybe it's one way to go. So what's your take on this?
No, thank you, Muriel. I would say that we should be careful in not having too many roadmaps, too many strategies. That's why I think it's very important that we have one digital strategy, which is the digital decade, with the very clear indicators, not too many. And these are now put to public consultation. So I would really invite RTOs now to cooperate with us, to really fix those high-level targets, which are then, I hope, guiding the rest of the work. So, for instance, in microelectronics, we say Europe should double its production capacity and should be able to actually be to design microprocessors, looking especially at AI. In cloud computing, we have set important ambitions with what concern distributed computing, which is very much of the interest of all RTOs, and also quantum. And what are our quantum ambition? Again, a very important topic. So, of course, in setting the objectives in 10 years from now, there's an intense element of research and development here that should scale up. That's why also we have ambition in terms of scale up objectives for SMEs and companies. So my really plea, more than a request, would be that the RTOs now engage with us, especially for digital, in this process of arriving to solid few targets, but important targets on really transforming technologies, including, which targets we need for the human capital.
Thank you very much, Roberto. I'm sure that all the members listening to us today will pick up on the targets for the digital strategy. Maybe Manuel, you want to react, being a national actor as well?
Again, I fully support the ongoing discussion, but certainly I will react that Europe is a large and we should be proud, diversified region. And we have been used to use different tools, and we need to continue to really guarantee that all European regions are integrated in this overall effort or building a better Europe. So it's common and normal to have different tools towards a diversified landscape. And let me again conclude by bringing to this discussion the role of RTOs at the center of the innovation challenge, because RTOs, again, they are diversified in national, regional, and European contexts. And the key issue for Europe more and more is to densify and to diversify the type of RTOs, from basic to applied research, market-oriented to fundamental issues, because we know that science creates markets, but also high-value economic activities bring new scientific challenge. And the densification of the European landscape with a diversified set of RTOs are particularly critical for the years to come. Certainly will be the only way to increase and to foster better employment, to give priority to young generations and to build trust on young generations, because we are looking and we are working always towards the future of our young generations.
Thank you very much, Manuel. I think Alexandra has a lot to pick up from Manuel and Roberto. One on not too many instruments and having a clear target. I think we understand that very well from Roberto and from Manuel, the role of RTOs in the future.
Well, I certainly think I'm comforted that the Commission is looking that there could be too many plans, too many goals, too many instruments. At the same time, Europe and the world is basically becoming more and more hyper complex, where we know that no player alone can have the total overview of the system. And I think, speaking from one of the more market-oriented RTOs, that's one of the features that we provide, the communication between different roles in a very complex ecosystem, and the sniffing ability of a market-oriented RTO structure in connecting the basic research to the actual problems that come to life. We see that very clearly when we work with the universities, that universities are building depth and to some degree silos, and we are able to provide a lot of integration in there. So I'm really glad to hear the appreciation of the RTO's role, and I can confirm that that's very much the way we work.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. So our panel is coming to an end. So to do so, I would like to ask you, the three of you, to summarize within 30 seconds your take on the discussion today. Manuel.
The twin digital and green transition is above all a skill transition and is a transition for the future generations. So research and innovation is the best way to build trust on our future generations.
Thank you very much, Manuel. Roberto.
I can even do it in 1 second. I agree with Manuel. Really, I mean, it's the future, it's where we want to be, and it's about the skills and the knowledge.
Thank you, Roberto. Alexandra?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the young generation will certainly appreciate that the research agenda is set from a clear understanding of how big the change needs to be. Business as usual is not acceptable. Setting those clear 2050 targets, both for the green transition, for the digital transition, and for the skills, is what will build confidence.
Thank you very much to the three of you for sharing your thoughts on this very challenging topic. So thanks again for taking the time for EARTO. I will now close the panel and we will go for a 10 minutes bio break. So see you all back in 10 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.